everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Rogue Deck Chronicles. As always, my name is John, and sitting across from me is Dean.
Hello, everyone.
And sitting right next to me, we actually have another special guest. We're trying not to make a habit of this here, but we were just having a game night on Labor Day and decided, you know what? We were talking about Pokemon, might as well just record it.
Yeah, might as well.
Sitting next to us is our friend Joe. He is the league organizer for our sponsor league at For Honor and Glory. So you want to say hi, Joe, and introduce yourself?
Yeah, how's it going, everyone? Like John said, I'm the the league organizer for Honor and Glory. I was sponsor for the podcast. Handle all the events at the shop, actually. So get to dabble and dibble in all different kinds of games. Anything from Magic, One Piece, Pokemon. But, Pokemon's always my home game, so I was super happy to come on when Dean and John invited me on. So, yeah.
Awesome. So, as most of you who are kind of in the know with the Pokemon community know, this week is pre-release season for Stellar Crown. So, that's kind of been what we're doing this week. That's our plans. I know Joe ran a pre-release yesterday. I know Dean went to one on Saturday. I unfortunately have not been to one at the time of the recording of this podcast. By the time the podcast comes out, I will have been to at least one. So definitely going to get my grind on there for that, because there's a couple cards that I definitely want to try and get out of the set. But
oh, yeah.
But so what is your guys' experience been like so far playing with some of the new cards from the set, or seeing cards be played? I didn't know if you got to play in your pre-release yesterday, Joe.
I didn't get to play in it, but we had a little bit smaller of an event. We had like a four-man tourney fire off, hoping for a little more on Tuesday, so that'll be good. But some cool pulls. I saw the Galvantula EX. Saw someone got the full art Kofu. Some of the new Ace specs getting played, so some of the Stage 2, the World Tree getting played. Everyone said the pre-release decks were kind of cool. Promos were a little underwhelming, but, sometimes they'd be like that little hit or miss with the promos there. I did want to ask Dean, you went to Coliseum?
Yeah, I won one on Tuesday. I went to the first one. They had two. I had other commitments in the afternoon. It was a decent turnout. We got it was like 15, 16 people, which is pretty decent for our area. It was fun. I didn't really pull anything from my kit, but seeing the creativity with the different promos, I will agree. I think compared to other pre-releases, these were a little more lackluster. But it was fun, actually, like when we're building our kits and our 40-card decks. I was talking to he's a newer master player, and he was like, oh, you need to do this with this. And I'm like, I didn't even think of that. And it won the whole entire event. Granted, it's just for fun, but like thinking outside the box with Joel Tick and another card that wasn't included in the pre-release. You actually had to pull those, like at least the other card. I'm not going to give that away just in case people go to more once they listen to this. But it was really fun. I was actually able to pull that combo off 2 out of my 3 games. But yeah, it was really fun seeing some cards. I did pull a Tropicos EX at the end, which is one of the chase cards for me, as me and John are talking about decks coming up for the next format and also for future tournaments that we're going to. But yeah, some people pull the Ace specs. No one really pulled anything like any of the big gold cards, but it was still really fun to see everyone's excitement, especially like how this is going to change up the format for LEIC and going forward.
I know the Rotom is really cool, the pre-release one.
The fan Rotom?
It
yes.
lets you pull, is it the basics to the bench out of the deck?
Three colorless under 100 HP.
Yeah.
Or 100 HP or lower.
That's
yes.
I feel like that's going to be a super
and
cool
it goes to your
card.
hand.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But you can only play it on your first turn.
Yeah, okay.
And so that specific one is played in one of the deck archetypes that we're going to talk about here in a little bit, because of the way that it builds out it's a multi-turn combo, but it does play out pretty interestingly.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that. John kind of gave a little sneak peek of what today's episode is going to be. We have 6 archetypes that either are new to us in Stellar Crown or have been adapted or are coming back because of this new set that's coming out. So we got 6 cards laying face down. I know y'all can't see it, but we have them face down. We're going to pick from random. We each will pick 2 cards, and we're just going to talk about those decks and see how Stellar Crown impacts them, and how this may or may not impact the upcoming formats once these become legal. And we're just going to have a nice little round table about some new decks coming out and just talk a little poke.
Yeah. So, as our guest, Joe, why don't you go ahead and pull the first card?
The first one, these beautiful mint sleeves,
Yes.
shields.
They were just random sleeves I had upstairs.
The one I can't pronounce from earlier, the Garvantula EX, right?
Yes.
All right, so Garvantula EX. Let's go ahead and pull it up here so that way we can actually see what the attacks are and talk about it. Unfortunately, we did not pull any of like the Japanese proxies or anything like that. So we're going to go ahead and see if we can get some Pokebeach.
As John is doing that, this is a new archetype that's coming out with Stellar Crown. It is one of the Stellar type Pokemon. So in the trading card game, the Stellar type Pokemon, it's like a regular Terra Pokemon. So like Charizard EX, Dragapult EX, the Ogerpon EX cards. But what makes them unique is that they all have at least one attack cost that have a wonky, interesting energy typing to them, but they're also very powerful. So we'll talk about that, see what we've been seeing on the videos we've been watching and the research we've been doing for these, for this format, and see if, okay, is this the second attack, because a lot of them have 2 attacks, is this worth it going forward, or are we seeing how this card's playing in another way? So take that into consideration as we talk about these decks. No optimal lists have been discovered yet. We probably won't see that until LAIC, to be honest, when that is the first tournament these cards are legal. Unless there's another tournament before that.
These are coming out the weekend of Baltimore, so they're not going to be legal for Baltimore. They're legal for Louisville.
Oh, they are?
Yes.
Normally the ICs are the first ones, so that's interesting.
So this is going to be legal for Louisville because Louisville is before LAIC, if I'm remembering correctly.
It's like a week before, I believe.
So, yeah.
Okay, so Louisville's the first one.
Louisville, you're going to see competition with it, but I don't think like you said, I don't think we're going to get the refined list.
Especially all the big world competitors.
Right.
A lot of early meta development.
Yeah.
Right. So until LAIC. But so Garvantula EX, like Dean was saying, is a Terra type. Majority of what's going on with the new Terra types being released here is that they're going to have a weird energy combo.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember exactly what these were like from before. There was another set years ago that had a lot of big like the bigger Pokemon, your stage 1, stage 2s, that had multi-energy type attacks.
It reminds me of the Amazing Rares.
Amazing
Yeah,
Rares, that's what they were.
They're not.
The Raikou.
Yeah, they were big
the
basics, but yeah, had the weird
energy types,
which then no one really used until the end of life, because then there was other cards that made them good. I will say the big difference with the new Stellar Terra type is that there are some that are pretty good now,
right? Because
they've developed support for this, which we'll talk about later on in this episode.
So the Galvantula EX is going to be a lightning type. So it is good with lightning type decks. It evolves from Joltik as normal, but because this is Terra, one of the things that I think a lot of people forget about the Terra types, which is what actually helped me in the Ogre Box deck that we talked about, is with Terra types, as long as the Pokemon's on the bench, it can't take damage. So against Dragapults, against...
is it damage or damage counters?
It's damage.
Okay.
So Dragapult would hit.
Dragapult does hit, but it was
your Radiant Greninja.
Radiant
Greninja will hit.
I'm trying to remember. Does Sableye do damage or damage?
That's damage counters
as well. There was something else that somebody tried to do an attack, and I'm like, nope, that doesn't count. Oh, Screamtails.
Yeah, Screamtail
is straight damage. So against Guardy, that would help me out. So for people that are wanting something that can help them in Guardy matchups, playing a lot of Terra types does help in that kind of standpoint.
Yes.
But its first attack is going to be for a lightning and a colorless. It's called Charged Web. And it's going to do 110 damage. If your opponent's active Pokemon is a Pokemon EX or a Pokemon V, this attack is going to do 110 more damage. So most of the time, by the time you get this attack built up, you've probably got a Stage 1, a Stage 2 Pokemon in your opponent's active. They're probably and with a Stage 1 or Stage 2, you're probably dealing with an EX at that point, or a V. So you do automatically get to do 120 damage. So what's nice about that is if you set up a boss play, or especially against your Pokemon V type deck, so your Palkia Vs if Palkia is coming back, your Regidrago V, which is a very big staple right now in the meta, you're one-shotting their Pokemon Vs and you're taking 2 prize cards right off the bat there. So that's a really good setup with the attack. The second attack, which is where we run into that multi-typing for the energy, is going to be its Fulgurite attack. I'm probably completely...
No one knows how to say this.
Yeah, doing a bad pronunciation of that. But it is going to be a Grass, a Lightning, and a Fire type. You have to discard all energy from the Pokemon, and then during your opponent's next turn, they can't play item cards from their hands. So that item locks your opponent down, which for decks like Guardy, like Regidrago, like Goldango, Chien-Pao, Zard, you're shutting down their ability to run their decks.
Oh, yeah.
So that is a good attack in that kind of aspect there, but you have to sit there and go, is it worth it for that type of energy cost? Because you have to discard all that energy from your hand. But that's where you build the deck around. If you're going to use this is one of the ones that you have to build the deck around. This is not one that is going to be a supporter type that just sits there and goes, hey, I'm a support Pokemon, I'm going to sit on the bench and help you out here. This is one that you're using for your attacks, so you have to build the deck around it. And so I've personally seen that is the reason why we're seeing a very popular deck come back, which is Regidrago. Not Regidrago. Regidrago did come back last season.
Just the Regibox.
The Regibox. Because not only do you use the Galvantula EX, you also use the Area Zero Underdepth Stadium, which if nobody has heard about that, the Area Zero Underdepths allows you to, as long as you have a Terra Pokemon in play, have your bench up to 8 spots. So basically, a little bit less beast mode Skyfield Stadium is what we're dealing with there.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, the reason why the Regibox is so well with this deck is that once you get all the Regis in play, the Regigigas has an ability called Ancient Wisdom. And with that, you take 3 energy, doesn't matter what energy it is, could be basic or special, and you can attach them to your Pokemon any way you like, including Garventula. So you can do the second attack, the 180 item lock, and then if you still have the areas under death in play, and you have all your boards still left, you can use the Ancient Wisdom ability, attack to Garventula again, and do another 180, and at that point you're probably knocking out another Pokemon, and then you're item locking again. And the cool thing is, like, okay, you do your 180, they either knock out your Garventula or they knock out your Stadium. You just play Regibox and then just do whatever you need to do. You have the Regidrago, you can attack with the Regieleki, whatever you need in that situation, you have the ability, because then you still have your 6 Pokemon in play based on playing it as a Regibox list. So it gives you options. It's really cool.
I've seen that you do have to play it with, I think what I was seeing the list play was Cornerstone, just so that way you can prevent damage from your big basics.
Yeah.
Like Roaring Moon, like Raging Bolt. But it's also another Terra Pokemon in play, because that is the downfall of having your big Terra Pokemon being your attacker, is the minute that's gone, if you don't have another Terra set up on the bench, you have to knock out... it's not technically a knockout. You have to take away all of the Pokemon back down to a 5 Pokemon bench.
Yeah, and it's easy too because it's nest ballable. So you
Right.
nest ball, put your corner on there, and you can have 2 in play versus having just a Garventula, which is a stage 1.
Right. So that's what I've seen there.
I've seen another list with Garventula too. The Blissey EX.
Okay.
Basically, there's another card that comes out is Glass Trumpet. So what Glass Trumpet does is you can play this if you have a Terra Pokemon in play. You attach, I believe, 2 energy. I'm going to look that up real quick. But you can attach energy from your deck to your colorless Pokemon. So you attach it to either your Chansey or to your Blissey.
Oh, and the Blissey can move it over with the ability.
Exactly.
Right?
Use the ability. Both of them. 2 energies there. All you do is attach the third energy, whether it be the fighting, grass, or lightning, and then you're good to go. You can attack with either attack. Another interesting point with this deck that we haven't mentioned yet is Joltik. Actually, the Joltik has one of the best energy acceleration I've seen in a while. So for 1 colorless energy, you can look for 4 energy, 2 lightning, 2 grass, attach to your Pokemon any way you like.
Yep. So clarification on that Glass Trumpet, it is choose up to 2 of your benched colorless Pokemon and attach a basic energy from your discard to them.
Okay,
So,
gotcha.
So that's why you run it with the Blissey, because then those are colorless, and then you go boom boom, and then use their abilities.
Yeah, use the ability
to move them out. And that's good because Blissey is a very tanky support Pokemon, so it's not like it's going to be it's not going to be a one shot on the bench type of play. So that to me is probably a little bit better of a way to play it than the Reggie, in my opinion, because you're not worried about having so much on the bench.
Mm-hmm.
You're not worried about those kinds of things. And even though the Reggies are decent sized HP-wise basic Pokemon, they're not that big.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, they're one prizers, but you're still worried about that HP there. So, you do have a little bit to worry about. So, I definitely will take a look at the Blissey build because that looks interesting.
It's, to me, I think it's a little more, not consistent, more safer.
I would
It's not
definitely
as
believe it's
risky
the
as
safer
the Reggie build. I think both are decent for this card. We just have to play around with it. And also, it depends on your playstyle. If you're very good with developing these combos and gaining pieces you need, I think you will have fun with the Reggie build. Playing with the Blissey, I think it is more safer, is more of a... It's less risky for sure. And you have the Blissey as an attacker as well.
Right.
And it helps you draw your cards if you need it. And then Chansey's always been a buffy basic Pokemon. And you can play with the Lucky Spot ability. So if you get it from your prizes, you can get another one.
Yeah.
You flip a coin.
Yeah, flip a coin.
Get
So
that, another one.
both ways, I can see both ways being played.
Right.
I believe it will be based on your playstyle and which one you're more comfortable with. I'm probably going to look at Blissey because I built Blissey before, so I have a lot of the cards.
I was going to say when we flip this over, I was like, why not just play the Net EX? At least in our current format, because that's also a form of item lock. Throw it in Guardy. Looking at the energy typing, though, I wonder if there's almost a build, maybe kind of like an Arvin build, where you Arvin for the A-Spec that takes away one of the energy costs of an attack, and you just play straight Joltik Galvantula.
So so the A-Spec that Joe was referring to is Sparkling Crystal.
Yeah.
So you can play this on your Terra Pokemon, and it reduces the cost of their attack
Just
by
one.
one. Yeah, and there's another list that we have that utilizes that A-Spec too, and I can see that too because if you're in a pinch,
power up with the Joltik, and you can actually kind of force the odd prize trade with a 1 prizer into 2 prizer into 1 prizer as you accelerate energy out of the deck.
Yeah, so
play fighting if you have to attach for turn, and I believe Roseanne's is still around and
Roseanne's still legal.
Shuffle a tool back into the deck. Can the Sparkling Crystal get re-put back into the deck from the discard?
Or you can use Silene to get it back that way too.
So
So there's options for sure.
So that brings up a good question though, because if we remember from the last set, the A-Spec that came out was the Legacy Energy.
Mm-hmm.
Legacy Energy's ability can only be used once.
But it says that on the card, though.
Does it?
On the Legacy Energy,
Okay,
yes.
so it does. Okay.
Yeah,
So I'm
I don't
reading the
think...
Sparkling Crystal here. Attack cost of the Terra Pokemon. This is reduced by 1 of any type of energy. You may attach any number of Pokemon tools to your Pokemon during your turn. So normal. You can't have one. So yeah, it doesn't state. So yeah, with Silene, you could definitely
kind of
recycle, or any type of recycle back and reuse it. Yeah, that's definitely a interesting build.
But
there.
it's good that you brought that up because there's some other A-specs that came out with Shroud of Fables and the one before that says that you can't put this back in your deck. Yeah. So the fact that that doesn't say it, that's huge. So you can use cards like Roseanne, Backup, and Silene.
There's almost a world where you go turn 1, Joltik, Evolve, Galvantula, and then you just keep recycling the item lock into shotting all the factors they bring up.
So that's another
that's definitely
way to
an
do
interesting
it.
Thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
all right. So
a lot of talking for a Garventia. We weren't actually expecting.
We're excited
to talk
about the spider.
That.
We're excited about the spider.
Yes.
All right. So Dean, you want to go ahead and pull the next one?
Yeah, I'll take this card.
I'm ready for the Joltik and Grass Shield.
Oh, this one. So I pulled Dragapult. So as people know, this isn't a new deck. This is an established archetype. But the reason why I wanted to talk about this one was about the A-spec that we just talked about, the Sparkling Crystal. So with Dragapult, one of the things that held it back a little bit was attaching the energy and getting the attack going. But with the Sparkling Crystal, you just have to attach 1 energy now because it was a Psychic Fire. Now you choose which one you want, and you're good doing the 200 in the spread. It's a lot easier to set up. Granted, you are losing the Neo Upper energy, but I'd say this is probably a more... I would think this is an upgrade compared to the Neo Upper, just because, like you said, if we can find ways to recycle the tool to it, you can set up the Dragapult multiple times with only 1 energy on there.
Yeah.
So I think that will come into play. And also there's a new supporter out that I believe will go well with this, which is Briar. So what Briar does is you can only play this when your opponent has 2 energy cards left. And during
2 prize cards?
They have the 2 prize cards left, and then
and there's a clarification on that.
Yeah.
You have to play it only... You can only play it when they have 2 prize cards remaining.
Yes.
But for the rest of your turn, if you take a knockout with a Terra Pokemon, you get an extra prize card.
Yeah.
So that is a specific wording there, and that will come up when we talk about other decks.
Yes.
But archetypes, because that is a very specific way that some decks are taking 4 prize turns.
If not more.
I feel like, which is insane.
Which I feel like Dragapult can do that with the spread effect of the attack.
Right.
And it also plays other spread Pokemon too. So with the new Sparkling Crystal, it's been doing well in Japan. That's why I kind of want to bring this up, because I was like, I didn't think about Dragapult, and I'm like, wait, that A-spec is pretty powerful for this deck.
Right.
Really, for any Terra deck that only has 2 energy costs, you can power that up in 1 turn.
And that actually brings to question whether or not the Alakazam, the Radiant Alakazam, and what's the bird psychic Pokemon that can attach? You can attach an extra psychic per turn.
Oh, Xatu.
The Psychic Embrace.
Yeah, psychic. Not Psychic Embrace.
That's Malamar from GLC that I'm thinking
of. But yeah, so
Clairvoyant Sense.
Clairvoyant Sense.
Yep.
Yeah, so with Clairvoyant Sense, that may bring that build back, because that was the build that wasn't doing well.
Yeah.
So that definitely will be an interesting thing to see how that comes out there.
Joe, you have any thoughts about Dragapult?
No, you guys I think covered it up pretty well. I would be excited to see Xatu make a return. Because attach 1, draw 3 goes hard.
Yes. Anytime you can draw 3 goes hard.
Yeah. So, all right. So I guess it's my turn to flip over a card here, and let's see what we get. All right, this one I'm really excited to talk about. It's Miraidon.
Oh yes.
So Joe is sitting over here. Joe is actually out of the 3 of us, the resident Miraidon player. But I saw this on the Tricky Gym stream a couple days ago, and I wasn't even thinking about this as a talking point for Stellar Crown, but putting Mewtwo EX into a Miraidon build brings back our very fun fleet-footed friend, Raikou.
Oh yeah, I remember when you brought this up to me. I'm like, what? I'm like, what does Mewtwo EX
He was
do?
like, what is
I'm like,
Mewtwo?
it's a psychic. It has psychic energy. You don't play psychic energy in the deck. And then you show me the video, and I'm like, I just looked at it. I'm like,
It's just good to be there.
it just breaks
It's hanging
the deck.
out. It's coming out for a good time.
It breaks the deck.
So, for those that don't know, Mewtwo definitely is a psychic Pokemon. But because of it Terra typing to an electric, you pull it out off of Miraidon's ability, which is the tandem unit ability. So you tandem unit that. Joe's sitting
I
here
just had the
realizing
realization
that.
you can tandem unit.
Yeah.
So you
my
tandem-
biggest misplay with Miraidon is not realizing that I can use tandem unit more than just on my first turn. That's been like my number one mistake.
Or
with the
using
deck a
it
couple
more than
times.
once on your turn.
Yeah.
A lot of people
So-
make that mistake too.
So you can tandem unit for that, and if you have Area Zero Underdepths in play, oh look, Miraidon now can have 8 bench spots.
Yeah.
So you'd play that. You also play the Morpeko, which allows you to look at the top card of your deck and determine if you want to discard that or not. And normally you wouldn't play that in a Miraidon deck because it's a bench space that you don't want being taken up by a 90 or an 8. I think it's 80 or 70 HP
Yeah, it's a
Pokemon.
low,
It's a
yeah.
low one. So you don't want that being sitting there on your bench for an easy target. But now you're like, oh, this helps me make sure my E-Gens, especially late game, are better set up, which is exactly what you need. So that, plus with Raikou, it is, you get 20 plus another 20 for each Pokemon that is not only on your bench, but on your opponent's bench. So if you're playing against another deck that is utilizing Area Zero Underdepth, just like you are, you're swinging.
Oh yeah.
And so I saw, it was Jesse who was playing it, which we all love Jesse. Jesse going 14-0 at Worlds with Miraidon was amazing. But he was playing that, and then Mahone was playing another deck that we're going to talk about here in a little bit. But against that deck, against Zard, your Pidgeots, you're now one-shotting with Raikou.
Oh yeah.
Like, I think he hit one for like 560 damage.
When-
it was
yeah.
insane.
You were one-shotting any of the weakness mons anyway.
But just
through
to...
weakness, but now getting that extra, 120 damage on top of your 220, now your Raikou is potentially knocking out
Everything.
anything and everything that's in that active spot.
Right.
So that's what I think makes it so cool. And then just the more space. Like, a lot of time I'm playing the deck, and I'm like, man, do I grab Mew EX? Do I grab Serendipity? What is, like, in the next 2 to 3 turns, what Techmon will I need to try and see more cards? Now, theoretically, I can have them both. And now I have to choose, which is so cool.
And then because... So the interesting thing is that the list only played one Mewtwo EX. So once that Mewtwo is out of play or the stadium's out of play, you have to discard your bench. Where when you have like these specific support mons, it's like, oh, I don't mind getting rid of my Rotoms at this point in the game.
Billy,
I don't mind getting
something.
rid of my Billy. I don't mind getting rid of whatever.
one of the Miraidon if I'm not loading that one up.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the time you need to get that second Miraidon on the bench for that tandem unit to get that bench build. So it's really interesting to see the lines. One thing that I have really seen that I think has been the play most of the time, especially when I've been playing you see this, and I'm pointing at Joe here.
Yeah.
But, when,
Not me.
when I see Joe playing against me with it, is you try to build up the Iron Hands first. In this format, especially if you're dealing with stage one or stage 2 decks, you always have to pretty much build up that Iron Hands right away.
Yeah.
Because then you're relying on the Mewtwo and stuff like that for the Raikou in the later game. So that's what I've seen is not trying... Because I feel that with this thought process going, oh, I'm building the deck around the Mewtwo EX and the Raikou build to get that out. I think that is a dangerous trap that people can fall into of, oh, I need to get the setup right away. If I, playing Goldango, see that you're setting up the Mewtwo EX and you're using it to set up the Raikou, I'm knocking out your Mewtwo EX right away if you're not building up Iron Hands. Because at that point, I'm going, you're giving me time to set up my stage 1s here. Once I set up my stage 1s, you're not amping them. So at that point, I'm like, Mewtwo EX, cool. That's a free target for me right there.
Yeah.
So I think that you've got to think about what your starting lines are, and I think with this new build, now if you're playing against a big basic deck, no, you're not going to build up your Iron Hands. It's not worth it at that point.
No.
That's probably going to be discard fodder at that point. But a lot of decks in this format are going back to a stage 1, stage 2.
Mm-hmm.
If you're dealing with a Palkia, if you're dealing with, which is going to be weak, so now you're taking 3 prize cards there off of an amp. As long as you're actually, yeah, even with double turbo on an amp, you're taking 3 prize cards
On a V.
on a V,
Yeah.
So that's where it's going. Okay, we gotta. So with Palkia, with Guardy's still seeing play. I'm not seeing it as much, but still seeing play with things like Charizard and with Goldango making a comeback and stuff like that. You've got a whole bunch of stage 1, stage 2 decks that you've really got to go, all right, turbo to hands, amp, turn 2, turn 3, and then start worrying about building up for the later game. So that's definitely a trap that I think people will fall into that I think they need to be aware of.
And how are the lists for Miraidon? Are they like pretty tight? Like I feel like there's like, oh, maybe that one slot for like Super Rod, get the Mewtwo back, and you could try and double up. But are the other pools? I haven't seen the list yet, so they're pretty tight.
So they're pretty tight. The thing I'm gonna go on Jesse's word here because Jesse is like the god of Miraidon here.
Yeah.
He said if you're playing a Super Rod in your deck, you're stupid.
Okay.
He's like,
I feel like you don't need it.
You don't. You really don't. And it's taking away because what you're gonna take out for a Super Rod is an energy. Which I get, you're running 17, 18 energies. You're running a lot of energies. You go, oh, I may be able to take out an energy. That one energy being taken out throws the stats weirdly, and it lowers your chances of hitting your E-Gens.
Yeah.
So that is where he's going, don't do it.
And I feel like with this new build and utilizing really Raikou more, you can rely on less energy because Raikou only needs 2 energy to attack.
Right.
So you build up 2 Raikous, maybe an Iron Hands, or 2 Raikous and a Miraidon. It's less energy overall, and you're not as reliant on hitting those E-Gens. You can get away with hitting 1 instead of both. And then you're still in a really good spot because now you increase your bench damage, or your bench Pokemon, to do more damage, and you're still hitting that number that you were, versus just doing like 2 Miraidons. And with Photon... with the Photon attack, you have to retreat, and it was too much, and I feel like it's a more stable board state. And I'm kind of going to do a curveball here. This is the same tactic as with the new Palkia that's coming out. I'm going to...
Yep.
So Palkia was actually one of our cards. I'm actually going to switch that with another Pokemon when we get there, and I'll let you know what it is, because I was looking through and I forgot a 7th deck we wanted to talk about.
Okay.
But Palkia is basically the same strategy.
Yeah.
But instead of electric, it's water type. So you utilize Area 0 Under Deaths, and you either play with the Wellspring Ogerpon, or you can use the Tropicos, which, spoiler, we'll talk about more on. But it's more about getting your bench set up, getting your Palkias set up, and do the big damage just like Raikou.
Right.
So
I think the only thing that I'm worried about with Palkia as that comeback is you are dealing with a format that, at least in our local meta, is very Miraidon heavy. You're either dealing with Drago or you're dealing with Miraidon, possibly Raging Bolt. So you're dealing with, at least, I would say every tournament that we've gone to, I've seen at least 2 to 3 Miraidon.
yeah.
So depending on the size of the tournament, you have a very high probability of hitting a Miraidon And that's unfortunately probably going to be an auto loss.
Hey all you rogues out there. We just wanted to take a quick second to say thank you to our sponsor, For Honor and Glory. They are a great support to us and have all the things you need related to Pokemon, Magic, D&D, Warhammer, and more. You can go on over to forhonorandglory.com and use discount code ROGUE24. That's forhonorandglory.com and discount code ROGUE24 for 10% off your entire online order. All right, let's get back to talking about those sneaky decks.
And if you're not hitting them right on, you're maybe hitting that one Iron Thorns player too, because that's still around, and that's weak too. And with Iron Thorns, you can't pull off the V-Star.
No.
And that's very big with that deck, because that's your main energy acceleration. You can't Radiant Ninja. That's very big with getting your energy into your discard.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I agree. It sounds cool in theory. It can be fast. It can hit hard if it's set up. But with how prevalent electric types are in this format, it is a risky choice. But if you hit those matchups well, and you're lucky not to get those Miraidon players, not to get the Iron Thorn players, I don't know, it's a toss-up to me.
I agree. All right, Joe. So you want to go ahead and choose the next card?
Oh, I flipped over the next card. That's crazy. It was Palkia that we were just talking about.
We totally didn't plan that whatsoever.
Yeah.
All right. So like Dean said, we're going to go ahead and switch out Palkia because there's another card that's coming out this
I do want to say one thing quick
deck?
on it.
Yeah.
Since you pair that Palkia with the Terrapagos, it's 230 health, which does help in that Miraidon matchup, which sometimes Miraidons are only hitting 220, so if they have to hit into the turtle, it makes it a little bit more tougher. They have to try and work their way around to that weakness hit on the Palkia.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's another thing that we were talking about is Jesse wasn't running the Zapdos. He took the Zapdos out, and he was like, do I put it back in? Do I not?
Yeah.
And because it would help with the math with that. So
But
that is going to be something.
But yeah, when we talk
up.
to that deck, we'll talk about some lines of plays where the Zapdos may not be really a worthy call, which we've seen on a stream. But yeah, so instead of doing Palkia, we're going to do Hydrapple.
Yay, Grass is back, baby!
Which John has been playtesting, and I know he's been playtesting with
Grass,
Joe.
if you will.
Rogue Deck Grass, yeah.
Yes.
So for those that don't know, the Hydrapple is a Stage 2. It's one of the only... There's one other Terra Pokemon we're going to talk about today that is a Stage 2. But the Hydrapple is really one of the only Stage 2 EXs that are coming out in this new set. That's a Terra Pokemon. And it actually is pretty beefy. It is a 330, I believe, if I remember correctly. So 330 EX. And so it's going to be the Applin Diplin Hydrapple line. But what you're really doing is you're running a 4-1-3 line. You're running 4 Applin, 1 Diplin, 3 Hydrapple EX. And so with Hydrapple EX, it has an ability of Ripe Charge. So once during your turn, you may attach 1 basic grass energy from your hand to one of your Pokemon. So it does not matter what Pokemon it is. But when you do so, you get to heal 30 damage from that Pokemon. So it doesn't have to be a grass-type Pokemon. It just has to be a grass energy to a Pokemon. The other thing is it has an attack for 2 colorless, which is called Syrup Storm, and it does 30 plus 30 damage for each grass energy attached to your Pokemon. And hey, we got a Pokemon 2 sets ago that brings out grass energy very easily, which is the Teal Mask Ogerpon.
Oh yeah, and it's
so it's a draw engine, and it's helping this attack here. So you could effectively, if you've got 2 on a Hydrapple, you've got 3 on, or sorry, 2 on each of the Teal Mask, because you're going to need to take at least 2 to 3 turns to get a Hydrapple out with a rare candy or running it up the Diplin to Hydrapple line. You could possibly have 11 or even 10 energy, and you're hitting 330. So you're taking out most EXs at that point.
I think
if
the
not all of
only
them.
Pokemon you're not taking out is Palafin EX.
Which most people,
It's
unfortunately,
yeah,
aren't
no one's
playing
playing it.
Palafin.
I mean, in standard.
In
Standard.
Expanded, which Joe is our resident lover of Expanded here.
Newfound love for Expanded. Hadn't really tried it until recently, but
It
it's
is.
been a good
And
time.
we can
Maybe
talk
it's a
about
future
that.
episode we talk
Oh,
about
yeah.
it.
Oh
So-
yeah, yeah, and we'll bring you on for that.
So, but yeah, so and what's nice is one of the best decks in format still is Charizard.
Mm-hmm.
And oh wait, you hit for weakness, and you don't have to do stupid plays from your hand to the bench to then move up and all that with Iron Leaves. It's a straightforward, hey, I'm building this up. Now, the unfortunate thing is, you would think that going with Teal Masks and it being just a rare candy evolve, that you'd be able to go pretty aggressive and pretty turbo with this deck.
I'm sure you can. Charizard does it all the time, right? No?
My 3-0 record against you the other day.
You know, we had some good games.
It is
Deck,
not.
I think the deck just needs a little more time in the oven. It might have a little bit of a shortfall here and there. Quick question.
Yeah.
If they'll have my evolutions lines wrong, or can you is there a world where we slot Hydrapple into the Festival Lead deck?
Oh, you 100% could.
Okay, I feel like that would be kind of cool.
You
Almost.
could.
You can for a tanky, play a 1-of in there just to kind of tank, because the Dipplin is it's only 90 HP, 80 HP, but that's the whole point of the deck. But if you need something where you can hit hard and kind of absorb damage,
Because I feel
I can see you can do that, yeah.
that Stellar Crown format's almost going to get a little bit more aggressive, so maybe playing some more one prizer stuff, kind of tanking it out, coming in with the Hydrapple late game for some heavy hits. And just, Sam Dill throwing that prize trade off. It's always kind of...
Or yeah, it just, the problem with that is to use the ability for the Dipplin, you have to play Festival Ground. So if you have room for a stadium there and that's your stadium, then yeah, you can, like you said, throw off the prize trade, hit twice, hit hard, and then you're making them take more prizes because you're throwing that off versus just doing a 2-2-2 line with how most lists are playing now.
Right, and I need to correct myself. Hydrapple is not a Terra Pokemon. It is just a Stage 2.
Which I don't think really matters.
No,
so.
not for what the deck is going to be running.
Not a lot of benefit from that area.
No,
Yeah.
but I just wanted to correct myself there.
But you do play a Terra Pokemon in the Teal Mass, so
Right,
you could take advantage if area the deck doesn't play Area 0, but if it's in play, you could take advantage of it because you're going to have at least 2 Teal Mass in play at all times. So if you need to build up you're most likely you don't want to do this. But if you need support mon to kind of at the end of the game churn through your deck, you can get
that may be something to think about because I think that was part of it is I was just not getting to the cards that I needed to get to.
Yeah.
In my matches against Joe, and it was because it was just sitting there, and there'd be points where because you're playing so many Arvin, you're playing so many boss, you're playing so many research, and you're like, I don't want to research away 3 bosses. At that point, you're just like,
maybe put in a B barrel line with the Pheasantipity and some other ways to draw Pokemon
besides the Teal Mask. Because then, especially with the Hydrapple, if someone's trying to go, I'm going to put 3 damage counters over here on your barrel, so that way I can knock it out next turn. I can be like, haha, Ripe Charge.
Yeah.
So
you can save it that way too.
Yeah, that might be a good thought there. So
something I just thought about.
It could be the matchup too. Maybe the Hydrapple struggles against those aggressive decks a little bit more.
Yeah,
and
the problem
I hadn't updated my Miraidon yet. Mine was still in Twilight Masquerade, so really we would have to try it against a Stellar Crown build.
Right.
So maybe because I played the Zapdos, because I'm trying to hit.
To be honest, it gets more turbo in this.
It
gets even more turbo. But maybe it does struggle against, like you said, the more turbo builds. But with Roaring Moon, it hits for weakness, so you don't need that many up there. So you can even hit with the Teal Mass if you want to knock out the Roaring Moon. So I think that one may become more 50-50. We have to do some playtesting to see. So maybe it's just be a Miraidon. Yeah, it could be if you go against a lot of Miraidon heavy local format. Maybe Hydrapple is in the play, but if you're going into a tournament where a lot of people are playing setup decks, I think it may have a good chance.
Yeah.
or future formats.
Right,
Future
exactly.
rotations. Energy acceleration is always going to be good.
Right.
I won't lie. I'm hoarding Garchomps just because I'm waiting to see. Because I feel like that'd be kind of cool. The one from Paradox Rift, where you hit for 160, you accelerate 3 fighting for 1 water or 1 fighting or something.
Yeah.
So really, anything energy acceleration heavy like this, especially in ability, you always want to keep, if you pull them, keep 1 or 2 around just to see. You never know. Something later on in life could be kind of cool.
To be honest, I'm seeing a more healing based deck around that if they do that, because you do heal 30 and you can do it multiple times with that ability. If you have multiple Hydrapples out, find a list where you hit me, I want to heal all that damage.
And and what I'm thinking is what you said there of having multiple Hydrapples. I think that was the other problem, is I was so focused on trying to get Teal Masks out and then maybe 1 backup as a Hydrapple. I think throwing in the Area 0 will help, because then I can have more Hydrapples out, or more Applin Diplins out, trying to get that build up. Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of decks will rely on that Area 0, so the likelihood of that staying in play for 2-3 turns is very high.
Right. But that was Hydrapple. I mean, it was fun. I was when I got to swing, I was swinging for large numbers. It was cool how we were like, wait, how many energy are on the board here? But so it was fun. Like I definitely want to still play around with it. I'm not saying it's completely a dud, but I unfortunately, for those that have seen the stream of, again, Tricky Jim, we love Andrew Mahone's content over here.
Yes.
But for seeing Mahone playing the Galvantula deck against Joe playing, not our Joe, different Joe, playing the Hydrapple deck, Joe got it to run. Like, he was going...
And quick, too.
Quick with it. So, I definitely want to see how I can tweak it a little bit to see if I can get it to run a little bit better.
It just needs more time in the kitchen.
Yep.
Not all these decks are fully baked, fully cooked yet. This is early builds, just... Only a couple people are talking about this, because you can't really play test unless you're doing a tabletop version. So take everything we're saying with a grain of salt. We're just doing our research. This is what we like and what we're saying, and yeah.
All right, so I'll go ahead and give Joe my turn for the next card, since we kind of pulled the Palkia build there. But go ahead and flip, and it is Terapagos the Turtle. All right, so for Terapagos EX, I had it here. Where'd it go? I had it up.
So for this kind of topic piece, is it a straight turtle deck, or is it with the Palkia?
So we talked about the Palkia.
There's actually 3 builds.
Three different builds
okay.
that you want to use.
Enlighten me with the grand ones.
So do you want to talk about the one that you saw, or the one that you're trying to build?
I'll talk about the one I'm trying to build.
Okay.
So, for those who don't know, Terapagos is a new Pokemon introduced in the latest DLC for Scarlet and Violet. It is a colorless stellar Terra type Pokemon, so it does fall under everything about stellar type that we've been talking about. It is 230 HP, has 2 attacks. First attack is for a colorless, and it does 30 times damage for the amount of bench Pokemon you have in play. So it really builds on the Area 0 that we're talking about. Get your bench to 8, and it'll hit for 240. If you play a double triple energy to it, you hit for 220. The downfall of that is you can't play that on your first... If you go second on your first turn. It's very easy to build that up. You can't do that. And then for a water, grass, and lightning, it does 180, but then it cannot take any damage from any basic non-colors Pokemon. So the good thing is we have a lot of these big beat stick, very turbo decks. If you can get those 3 energy on there, 180, and they can't hit you unless you force them to switch you out or prime catcher or something like that. The list that me and John are really looking at kind of gears more towards the first attack. You pair it up with the Bouffalon, and you pair it up with Fan Rotom, with both cards are coming out in with this new set. What Fan Rotom does is that is a 70 HP colors Pokemon, has an ability. You can only play this card on your first turn, so it's a dud card for the rest of the game. Whenever it's in play, it doesn't have to be inactive, it just has to be in play. You can search your deck for 3 colorless Pokemon with HP of 100 or less. And that's important because there's 3 more Pokemon introduced that goes with this deck archetype. There's the Hoothoot, Noctowl, and Bouffalant. To me, the Bouffalant is the more important piece, but the Noctowl is really important. It's probably second to the Bouffalant, but they're very important to this deck.
So why are those important, Dean?
Oh, yeah. I've been doing a lot of research on this deck, so I have a lot to say. So the Noctowl, when you evolve it from your hand, you can, and if you have a Terra Pokemon in play, which you will if you have the Terrapagos in play, you can look for 2 trainer cards. Keyword there, trainer cards. So supporters, items, tools, stadiums. Any tool, put them in your hand. And then you can play them as you see fit. And then the Bouffalant, if you have 2 Bouffalant in play, it has a Curly Wall ability where all your colors Pokemon take 60 less damage from Pokemon attacks. So you can prevent the Fan Rotom getting knocked out, because there's a lot of attacks that does straight 70, where you kind of force them to do more. You have to do 130 to that Fan Rotom.
Yep.
And then the Bouffalant will go up to 160 effectively for the HP, which is important. Like we said for Miraidon, you can't amp them.
Yep.
It nullifies the attack. So that's important to have the 2 Bouffalants in play in the beginning. And then you go off with using the Terrapagos with the heavy attacker, and then you play a Dusknoir line in there.
Yep.
So, John, you want to explain why Dusknoir is important for this list?
So, with Dusknoir, you're being able to effectively, with its ability, you are knocking it out. So you're giving your opponent a prize card, but you're able to put 13 damage counters on a Pokemon anywhere on your opponent's bench.
Oh, yeah.
So, in situations that we've been watching, again, from Tricky Jim, Mahone was playing this against Jesse with a Miraidon build. Jesse left his Iron Bundle on the bench. So, Mahone had 4 prize cards left. Jesse had 2. So, this is where that Briar comes into play. Mm-hmm. He played the Briar as supporter at the beginning of the turn because he had 2 prize cards left. But because the wording of the card says until the end of your turn, it was really important to play it then, because then he took the knockout on the Iron Bundle. So Jesse got a prize because the Dusknoir got knocked out, but the Iron Bundle got knocked out, going down to Mahone only having 3 prize cards, and then attacked with the Terrapagos and got the knockout on a Miraidon.
No, the Luminion.
He bossed up the Luminion. Yeah. No, he counter-catcher
Luminion
and took out 3 prize cards on a swing on the.
So 4 prizes.
The fish.
4 prizes in 20 seconds.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
4 prize turns.
I haven't watched anything like that.
And he did it twice to him on stream, like back to back. So
back to back games, you were like, what?
So there once.
Yeah.
Shame on you. Fool me twice. All right, you win this game. Let's go to lunch.
Oh yeah, and I think they played another game.
The second game, he took it out on the Morpeko. The Morpeko was on the bench, so he took the Dusknoir knockout on the Morpeko, and then did the exact same thing. Which Jesse was right to keep the Morpeko there because he needed to see that for trying to do his last E-Gens. So
yeah, it makes players be more cautious when they play against this deck because it's titled Turtle Checkmate, because you can come back from behind and get all those prizes all at once if you can get the prize cards lined up on your opponent at the right time and get all your Pokemon out, which is important with the 8 bench spots.
Yeah.
And then having more than one Terrapagos in play, or finding a way to get 8 bench spots so you can do the heavy attack.
Yeah. So what's different and key here with understanding the Terrapagos here is that we see a difference in things like Palkia and Raikou, where it's both benches, where with the Terrapagos it is only your bench.
Yes.
So you need to keep that in mind there with that attack.
Yeah, so if you're going against the big Pokemon like Charizard, Palafin, Dragapult, where 300 HP or more. I feel like this deck will have maybe a little harder of a time. I'm not saying it's impossible. It'll probably go more closer to 50-50, just because you can't one-shot their big main attacker. You have to maybe utilize the Duxnoir to help get that, but then you're giving your opponent prize cards instead of getting all those your prizes in one turn.
Right.
There is another build of Trapagos. Hasn't really been talked about as much. I kind of like it, mainly because it plays into my playstyle, being a very defensive style player. It's called Tanky Turtle. So basically, same concept. Just you play more tool cards like Bravery Charm. You play Hero's Cape, and you're just trying to tank as much as you can, and then you're still hitting the damage, but you're just absorbing that damage more versus being more aggressive, more aggro, and getting 4 prizes at once. You're good with getting the 2 to 2 prize trade. It does play more of basic energy build and just relying on the 180 attack and preventing the non-basic or basic non-colors attacks like Miraidon, the Roaring Moon's out there,
Raging
Bolt. You bank on seeing a lot of that, and you play the Glass Trumpet, which kind of helps get the energy into play. But I think that the more checkmate build is, I think that's the superior build. It looks like it's more fun to play too.
It has the less superior name because Tanky Turtle is. I want to build it. I want to build it just for the name.
I may build both versions and see which one I like more. And then, like you said, it does see play in the Palkia list that we talked about too. You can get away more without having Trapagos, with having the Wellspring or Ogerpon, but the Trapagos does help set up some early knockouts and some the numbers you need while you build up your other attackers like Palkia.
Sure. Yeah.
I do want to quick interject because we brought up the Noctowl. I didn't know this. Y'all might know this, but the ETB promo is the alt art Noctowl.
Oh, so, that's really cool.
I mean, I give Pokemon some, bad rep here and there sometimes for some choices they make, but I will say if you need an accessible game to play, it's always going to be Pokemon. The playable cool stuff is always the most accessible.
Right, yeah.
The League Battle deck with Charizard coming out with the Prime Catcher for $30.
That's insane.
We can talk about, maybe we talk about next week how like easy Pokemon's becoming for competitive wise.
Right.
But they're the way, I went to Target earlier today. I can buy a Gardevoir deck easily.
$30.
$30.
Swap a couple cards and you can get in the game. I just want to interject because I saw the Pokemon Center logo on the bottom of the Noctowl at the
yeah.
So that's the Pokemon Center ETB logo, and then
I didn't know that.
Have a regular one for regular ETBs.
All right, so Dean, you want to flip over that last card, and before we talk, we appreciate everybody sticking around for how long this episode is. We know it's a little long, so we really do appreciate that. As we said before, we love talking about Pokemon, so
this one might be a little shorter anyway.
Yeah, this one will be shorter.
This one's a little shorter. So what is that last card,
So
Dean?
this one is the Cinderace. So those who don't know...
my flaming bunny!
Yes!
Flaming bunny.
So for those that don't know what it does, I hate to say it, I don't blame you. It's not getting as much talk as the other cards coming out. But it's actually pretty nice.
Why.
Yeah.
There's reasons why,
but
sad face.
Honestly, the attacks aren't bad. It is a Stellar Terra type Pokemon. For a Fire Colorless, it does what?
Fire Colorless.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Fire Colorless. It does 280.
Yeah.
But then it can't attack the next turn.
Yep.
Correct.
And then for Fire, Dark, and Fighting.
Yep.
I can't remember. I can't believe I remember that. It does
keep going.
It does 180, and it's just basically 180 to any of your opponent's bench Pokemon or any Pokemon in play.
So that first attack is called Flare Strike for 280, and you can't use it the next. Can't use Flare Strike the next turn unless you retreat.
Yeah.
But then the Garnet Volley, which is the fire fighting colorless, dark. That one you need to. That is 180 to your opponent's bench. But what's nice about it is any Pokemon, but it doesn't apply weakness or resistance for benched Pokemon. That is a clear distinction there, because if you're doing it to the active, you do apply weakness or resistance.
Yeah, which normally you don't, but It depends, but doing I think the 180 is a very important number because it knocks out Luminion. If you
Yes.
can get
Yeah.
either a damage modifier, you can knock out the Rotom. It helps
You
get
can knock out a Billy, which a lot
Yeah.
of those aggro decks are running.
Mew EX.
Yeah, Mew EX, yeah.
Yeah, and one of the important aspects about this card is the retreat cost. It's a free retreat cost, which
He knows
plays
everything.
into.
He knows
I was just
everything.
thinking Vitality Band.
But you can play Vitality Band too.
You're
Yeah.
knocking out a Fez.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Knocking out a Fez on the bench.
no, not Vitality Band. Defiance Band.
Defiance Band.
If you're behind in prizes.
But doesn't Vitality Band do 30?
Plus 10.
No, it's just 10.
Oh, 10.
But it's
okay.
10
It's a
straight.
general plus 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but yeah, the important aspect is the free retreat cost. So you do the
Yes.
280 attack, retreat, maybe get a switch card back in our prime catcher, or find a way to. I'm thinking you pair it with Petron EX and have another dark
Like
Pokemon,
Morpeko or something.
or Pekka, or the
Sneasler
V, and then kind of do a Palkia way, and then hit for the 280 again.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's a lot because it's
It
a
is a
stage
lot.
2 versus.
But here's going to be my question, and this is a question that was posed on the stream that we saw this on. Why not just play Charizard?
And that's the thing.
Because it's a stage 2 deck, and you're automatically accelerating the energy to Charizard.
Yeah.
Whereas with this, you're having to get, and I think that was my thing with the Hydrapple too, was it's not that it's bad about getting the energy on the board, it's getting the energy to the Hydrapple.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be the problem with Cinderace with the really aggro decks. Now, if you're okay hitting 260 instead of 280, you can 100% do fire and then do a double
DTE,
turbo.
Yeah.
But I would rather swing for the 280 because then you're hitting your Regidrago V-Stars, your Lugia V-Stars, your Palkia V-Stars. 260, you're hitting big basics, yeah, and you're getting to hit Goldango. And
You're hitting for
but-
weakness anyway, so it.
yeah, that is a fire. That's true, but
Like
still.
you can maybe pair this with the Armarouge where you can move the energy around. You obviously you're playing Magna Basin, but you made a great point. Why not just play Zard? Honestly, it's probably like what we mentioned earlier. It's probably going to be easier to build Zard than build this deck anyway.
right.
You have the you have the series packs where you pull Charizard EXs, and you do because I pulled 3. I don't know how, but I pulled 3.
Why?
And then the League Battle deck, yeah, and then the League Battle deck's coming out. I think it's just play Zard. If you want to kind of cheese your way in the challenge, play Cinderace. No one's going to know what you're going to do, and it does hit the numbers are there, but there's a better Pokemon. It's kind of like the Miraidon versus Shampoo
right.
debate. Why not just play Shampoo? It's a much more consistent deck. It hits the numbers just as well as Palkia for a lot less resources. But not everyone wants to play the meta deck. If you want to have fun, try something new. If you pull a bunch of these cards, I say go for it. Find a challenge or even a cup. Try it out, and if you do well, take it to a regional. Yeah, cool. Like everyone has their deck that they do well in. Do you have any thoughts, Joe?
I have a question, dude.
Yeah.
You got everything right about that card with no screen in front of you. How much HP does it have?
Oh, that one I don't know. 320?
You got it right.
You got it exactly right.
What's it weak to, Dean?
It's fire types of water. Is it?
Grass.
Oh, is it grass?
No, it's water.
I was like, how is it grass?
There are some fire that are weak to grass. It's weird.
That's so weird.
It is so weird. But
Are
there
you sure that's not like just because we think Charizard is a fire type?
No, there are some weird basics that are weak to grass.
Interesting.
So
I don't know. Does it have resistance?
I don't know. Probably not. Most cards don't.
Doesn't. He knows. He knows.
He knows.
He knows.
I've been doing a lot of research with Stellar Crown. Also, like we've been planning this podcast for a couple weeks too, so that helps as well. But this set is really getting me back into competitive play. Granted, don't get me wrong, I like Shroud of Fables format. This just brings a whole new mechanic. It's kind of reinvigorating, and it's start of fresh, and it's start of a new season more or less.
yeah.
We just got out of Worlds. We got this new set. We have people going to Louisville. We have people going to LAC. I know we're talking about going to Toronto whenever that opens up, and we're just I'm looking more into the future. So yeah, I'm kind of a little obsessed over this set right now.
All right. So as we said, starting last week, we have the new segment for trivia. So since there's 3 of us here, we're going to try and do a little weird. Joe is going to have his trivia question first, and we're going to go ahead and roll a die, high or low, to see which one of us, Dean or I, are going to actually answer here. So, Dean, do you want high or low?
I will do high.
All right. It is a 14. So, do you want to answer, or do you want me to answer Joe's?
I'll answer.
All right. So, Joe, go ahead and give
All
your
right.
trivia question.
So it's a little vague, but we'll see what we can do here.
But before we do that, sorry,
Sure.
I'll go over the trivia segment. So we'll ask each other questions. If you're familiar with the Uncommon Energy podcast, they do Guess Your Flavor Text. We're doing something similar, but with trivia. So we'll get a question, and we have 3 attempts to answer it. If we can get it on the very first attempt, we get 3 points. If we get on the second attempt, 2. Last attempt, 1. If we don't get it at all, we'll probably cry in the corner because we should know our Pokemon facts at this point, as we play this almost every single day. But
So my question's a little bit of a multi-parter. So is there maybe like if you can get a point for every part you get?
we can try that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's try that.
Okay.
This is a brand new segment. We can do what we want.
So you guys asked me to look up an interesting Pokemon fact, and the one that I found is that Pikachu and Meowth are opposites, and I want you to tell me how.
Well, Pikachu is 20. Pokemon Dex number 25. Meowth is 52, and they play on the cat-mouse relationship.
You got both my points, John.
I told you I know my weird Pokemon facts. I am obsessed with Pokemon.
All
I
right.
think you got both my points, John.
I think you got it right on the dot, because I think I took a screenshot.
Did you
of
know
the
that?
exact same- no, do I know it?
Did you get the same one?
Before today? No.
I watch a lot of Pokemon YouTube videos. But yeah, when they created Pokemon, they wanted the cat-mouse relationship, because this was developed before Pikachu was going to be the mascot.
Right.
It was supposed to be Clefairy.
Yep.
So they kind of did the 25-52 cat-mouse. They weren't supposed to be big Pokemon in the franchise, and later Pokemon became the mascot, so it kind of changed. But yeah, Pokemon does a lot of relationships with natural,
Yep.
like predator prey type of deal.
Yep. All right. So Dean ran away with that. He gets 3 points there. So all right. So since Dean, you were the first one to answer, I think you'll go up next. And then Joe, do you want high or low for who's going to answer Dean's?
Go low.
Low. All right. You got an 8. So do you want me to answer Dean's, or do you want to answer Dean's?
I'll take Dean's.
You'll take Dean's?
I might not get it because if he knows what I knew, what I just said.
Wait,
I might not know
wait.
it.
So wait, but then that actually we kind of have to do it this way: is I have to answer Dean's, and then you have to answer mine, because 3 of us. You.
Little round. Okay,
Yeah,
little
that
round,
we
go
kinda have
for
to
it.
do
Go
it that
for
Sure,
way.
Go for
that
it.
works.
All right. So Dean, what is your question for me?
What is the only Pokemon line that have no weakness
No
in the
weakness
video game?
In the video game. Part of me wants to go the Gengar line. I feel like it's going to be weak to Psychic, but I'm going to say final answer first guess is the Gengar line.
It is not Gengar.
Dang it.
Attempt number 2.
All right.
Can I ask a hint question?
No, we
No,
don't.
we don't-
have hints.
we don't
hints.
hit.
No
Alright.
hints.
Well, it's more of a clarification question. The video game, you mean what's it super effective to or like against?
So there's weak.
'Cause
Yeah.
There's
So
still weaknesses. and
there's
resistances.
weaknesses if you look at the. So
Yeah,
example
so
would
like
be.
water hits fire. For
That's
super
weakness,
effective.
yes.
Okay, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
But there's one line that doesn't have anything
Any.
because of abilities and all that stuff.
Okay.
Is it the Blissey Chansey line?
It is not Blissey and Chansey.
Dang it.
Last attempt.
The only other one that I want to go then is Clefairy Clefable.
It's not Clefairy Clefable.
All right. what
Joe,
is
you
it?
want to take a guess before?
So I was gonna do is Shedinja, but then the ability makes it take double hit to fire, right? So that doesn't count. That wouldn't be it.
Yeah, it's not the Greninja
that I
line.
don't know about.
It's not the Greninja line. I know
No,
that.
no,
no,
Shedinja.
Oh, Shedinja.
From third
yeah.
gen, it
Yeah.
can't be damaged by or like can't be knocked out or something by anything unless it's a super effective hit against it. But
That,
then
I don't know anything about that. So
All right,
Joe knows
so-
something I don't. So.
so there you go.
Yeah, I don't know what is it.
The Electrox line. So it is a ground electric type, or it's basically it has no, the weakness would have been to ground because it's an electric type, but because it has the levitate ability, it nullifies that weakness because levitate Pokemon cannot be affected by ground type moves. So because of it, it effectively has no weakness in the game.
Gotcha. Very interesting.
All right. Yeah, I was way off on that one. All right, Joe. So here we go. In the beta for Pokemon Red and Pokemon Blue, some of the Pokemon have different names.
Okay.
There are two that I'm going to go specifically. Coughing and Wheezing.
Oh, it's Q and U. We looked up the same thing.
No, you're wrong.
I know the answer to that.
Hold on. That's guess number one. That is wrong. So, guess number two.
It wasn't the same thing I looked up. Wasn't
That is our dogs.
You can hear Misty in the background. She wants to answer the question, apparently. Oh, I'm not too sure, man. I'm going to give it a silly one. I'm going to go Foggy and Gassy. Just because, I figured.
But it makes sense, though.
Yeah. Something kind of silly like that. I'm not too sure. We can't ask for hints, right?
Nope.
No hints. Something maybe based off like its Japanese name, but I don't speak Japanese, so I'm not sure. How about for sake of time, John, you give me this one, just because I gave two guesses, I'm not too sure.
All right, so it's Nai and La.
After New York
and LA for their air pollution.
I read this on the thing earlier.
I knew that. As soon as
there was another
that,
one.
Yes.
There was like another one that was like something NYU or something. Like
NY and LA because of how bad the city's pollution are because Japan is very clean.
I had the vowel pronunciation.
Yeah.
I was getting close.
You were close.
You
were close on that first one, but
Japan or Pokemon does a really fun job of how they get their names and how they develop Pokemon, and basing it off of real life.
I'm assuming you're familiar with like how the translations would go for Pokemon.
Kind of like how Splash is supposed to be Hop.
Yeah.
Stuff for that stuff. But I like Pokemon's how they are purposeful with how they create Pokemon and how they name Pokemon and the backstory and lore of different Pokemon. Granted, I don't know a lot of it because it's very yokai.
Yeah.
A lot of them are very yokai related, but some of these like fun facts like Nala are supposed to be coughing and wheezing.
Yeah,
because of the poison.
What was it? For the first 3 generations, it was one guy doing all the translations. And he would do a lot of puns and stuff. And then I think for DP it started where Pokemon had an official translation team do the
like
on it.
And they still do that too.
Ekans and Arbok.
Yeah. It's like, is it really that easy? I'm like, yes, it's really that easy back in the 151 era. But that was our Pokemon trivia.
Yeah, so
next time we'll have to not use the same source.
Yeah, right. Dean has 3 points. Meanwhile, everybody else on the leaderboard currently has 0 because we stumped Justin last week.
Yes.
But all right, so normally we would go into our Rogue Deck of the Week, but this week we are going to take a break from Rogue Deck of the Week just because it's pre-release. I mean, all the decks this week that are being played at pre-releases are pretty much rogue because you have no idea what you're going to get in your packs.
And it's all about creativity. And I tell people, none of these decks are supposed to be groundbreaking, very consistent, good. Just open up, enjoy the new cards, and like there are some really good combinations you can make with the promos and stuff. Send your list to us. Tell us what the Rogue Deck of the Week is.
That's the fun of a sealed format, really, any card game, right? You get everyone's on the same playing field and the same pool of resources of cards, so you get to see some really wacky, silly type creative decks and stuff. So
our email will be in the description, and feel free to reach out to us like, hey, I went to this pre-release at this location, and this was my list. Who knows? Maybe we'll take a look at it. We can talk about it, and we can start doing that more. We want to hear from y'all. Don't let it just be our ideas, because to be honest, we just kind of see stuff that we're interested in and we just want to share with y'all. Let this be a open conversation. Share us your ideas.
Yep. But that's it from our end. So have fun, everybody. Let us know how your pre-releases go, and have fun playing your sneaky decks through the seasons.
See y'all.
Have a good one.
Hey, all you rogues out there. We just wanted to take a quick second to shout out our sponsor and one of our home leagues at For Honor and Glory. They have all you need for your card game and TTRPG needs. Some upcoming events they have are the Stellar Crown pre-release dates for the next set for the TCG on Sunday, September 1st at 12 p.m., Tuesday, September 3rd at 5:30, Saturday, September 7th at 12, and Sunday, September 8th at 12 as well. You can also go over to forhonorandglory.com and use discount code ROGUE24. That's forhonorandglory.com and discount code ROGUE24 for 10% off your entire online order. All right, have fun playing your sneaky decks through the seasons.